The Gamasutra job board is the most diverse, active and established board of its kind for the video game industry. Here is just one of the many positions being advertised right now. Location: Sweden. Focus: creating and implementing sounds, managing audio content. Type: full-time, permanent. Last day to apply: Monday 15th of April 2019. You remember it, a failure in your portfolio, dragging footsteps around the counter, a raspy breath. You still break in cold sweat when you hear that high-pitched screech. That means a monster is near. All the iconic soundscapes that make Frictional games what they are. We are now looking for an experienced audio designer to work in-house and continue this tradition of keeping a new generation of gamers on their toes with lovingly designed, eerie and memorable soundscapes, on par with Amnesia, The Dark Descent and so much. What are we looking for? You have to be a European resident to apply. Remote work within Europe possible. The person we are looking for is creative, driven and self-sufficient. With a remote team such as ours, the ability to organize your own work is a fundamental skill. We have recently set up a center in Birmingham, Sweden, and will help you move to our seaside city if it suits your situation. Here are some essentials we require, and here are some techie skills. If you want to impress us, interested, apply now. Whether you are just starting out, looking for something new, or just seeing what's out there, the Gamasutra job board is the place where game developers move ahead in their careers. Gamasutra's job board is the most diverse, most active, and most established board of its kind in the video game industry, serving companies of all sizes, from indie to AAA. Looking for a new job? Get started here. Are you a recruiter looking for talent? Post jobs here. Do you have a deep and abiding interest in classic games? That's the Dragon series, the Sega Saturn, are all of the above. THENGAME Developers Conference 2019 organizers have good news for you. Panzer Dragon designer Yukio Futatsugi and artist Kentaro Yoshida, two Japanese game industry veterans, who now work together at Grounding, will be at GDC in March to discuss designing and developing the Panzer Dragon series on Saturn. This is a very special classic game post-mortem, because you get two speakers on not one but three games discussed in depth. The original Panzer Dragon, which was Futatsugi as a game designer, as well as its follow Panzer Dragons 1 and the Rock Panzer Dragoon Saga, neither of which have ever been publicly deconstructed like this. It promises to be a fascinating hour-long deep dive into the conception, development, and design of a seminal series, one that played a huge role in the life of the Saturn. Even if you are not interested in the history and the stories, Futatsugi and Yoshida believe that some of the lessons learned in struggling with the cutting-edge hardware that was the Sega Saturn can still be put to good use in the modern age of game development. For more information on this session and others, make sure to check out THEGDC 2019 session scheduler. There you can begin to lay out your GD 2019, which takes place March 18th through the 22nd at the newly renovated Moscow Center in San Francisco. For more details on GDC 2019, visit the show's official website, or subscribe to regular updates via Facebook, Twitter, or RSS. Gamasutra and GD are sibling organizations under parent company Informa. THQ Nordic will acquire leading Australian publishing partner, $18.25 $1 million in a cash deal. The company made the purchase through its subsidiary called Medidon. and hopes the move will help it expand its global network by establishing a strong presence in the Australian market. THQ Nordic and Koch Media will, through the acquisition, access an established platform on an exciting and growing market, said Lars Wingfors, Group CEO at THQ Nordic. We see great opportunities to establish us on a new market, and, through local engagement, being able to offer the use of THQ Nordic's global channels to Australian game developers. One made point to co-owners Roger Clark, who founded the firm back in 2016, and Ken Hewitt will both continue leading the company following the acquisition. News of the deal comes on the same that THQ announced plans to purchase Kingdom Come Deliverance developer Warhorse Studios for $37.5 million. Epic Games head Tim Sweeney has poked into a Reddit thread to address concerns that the Epic Games Star client was showing sketchy behaviors by poking around into unnecessary files. Most of the accusations brought up by the thread are unfounded, though Sweeney notes that one file accessed by the Star should only be done after a user opts into the feature and will be changed in the future. Both Sweeney and Epic's VP of Engineering Daniel Vogel addressed the uses for the specific files called out in the thread, offering a somewhat unusual, transparent look at how the storefront interacts with the machine running it. The original author of that thread agrees that the acquisitions are born out of amateur analysis presented alongside a conspiracy theory while raising concerns that Tencent's minority stake in Epic means the Star reports private data to the Chinese government. A conspiracy theory Ars Technica says Sweeney has had to refute several times in the past. This time around, Sweeney notes that has happy to see more and more PC players poking around into and analyzing what their software is doing, but that it's important that fact remain separate from wild speculation when that does happen. In analyzing the results, it's important to distinguish the normal from the abnormal. E.g. much of the commentary is over what the normal open-source Chromium embedded web browser does upon startup, and to separate technical analysis from inflammatory rhetoric, such as the insane claim that we are a bunch of Chinese spies, wrote Sweeney. This thread, meanwhile, says that the Epic Games Star puts around in a computer, and enumerates running processes on a computer, accesses those in directories for other applications, looks at Internet Explorer cookies, and stores hardware information. Another person in the replies points out that the Epic Games Store also makes a copy of Steam's local config WAV file if the competing storefront is installed on the same machine. In most cases, those actions are perfectly innocuous and are used to feed data into things like an anonymized hardware survey or Epic's support a creator program, explains the response from Vogel. That Steam file is the one Sweeney says will be addressed in an upcoming update. The current setup has the Epic Games Store pull the local config WAV file from Steam right away, but only uses it if an ex-user tries to import their Steam friends list into the Epic Games Store. It's a remnant from the early days of Fortnite, Sweeney says, and one that was born out of the pressure he put on the client team to quickly roll out social features for the game early on. You guys are right that we ought to only access the local config WAV file after the user chooses to import Steam friends. The current implementation is a remnant left over from our wish to implement social features in the early days of Fortnite, wrote Sweeney. It's actually my fault for pushing the launcher team to support it super quickly and then identifying that we had to change it. Since this issue came to the forefront, we are going to fix it. Whether you are just starting out, looking for something new, or just seeing what's out there, the Gamasutra job board is the place where game developers move ahead in their careers. Gamasutra's job board is the most diverse, most active, and most established board of its kind in the video game industry, serving companies of all sizes, from indie to AAA.